Hello and welcome to another Excel demo with Rich Kerr. In this scenario, I want to do a VLOOKUP to retrieve the price of a particular food item. But the wrinkle here is that I want to be able to quickly retrieve it from one of 4 different markets. So maybe I'm looking up milk in Detroit, or maybe it's crab legs in Miami. So we're going to use a couple of functions with our VLOOKUP to simplify this process. So first, let's say that what we're researching is spinach. I'll type that into cell A11. And I've actually named each of these ranges. So for example, if I select A3 through B7, you'll see that it is named Chicago. D3 through E7 is named Detroit, etc. So I've done each of these listings of items and prices are named for the city. So I've got the Houston range and I've got the Miami range. And that's going to be relevant in just a moment. So I've got spinach here as my item, and I want to be able to choose one of the markets. So one of the things I'm going to implement here is a data validation list. So in cell B11, I'll choose data validation, and I'll use the list style validation and enter the choices as Chicago, comma, Detroit, comma, Houston, comma, Miami. And if you want more information about how you do data validation drop lists, I've got a video on that as well. Just search for Rich Kerr Excel data validation list. I'm not going to do custom error alerts and all that jazz in this exercise, so I'm just going to create the list and click OK. So now we see that B11 has a drop-down list of those locations. So I'll go ahead and select Houston here. And finally, I want to retrieve the price of the spinach in this example from Houston. So we'll do equals VLOOKUP, open paren. Now my lookup value is the word spinach, comma, and the table array where it should do the research, this is what's going to be variable. So I want it to use whatever range is mentioned in cell B11. Now if I were to simply click on B11 as the name of my range, we'll see that that's not going to work for us. So we'll illustrate that. So in other words, Houston is the table array where the data should be retrieved, and I've got that in cell B11. And I want to retrieve the data from column number 2, and we'll say false for exact match. Now this doesn't work because the VLOOKUP function is not seeing this as the reference to a named range. It's just another text value. So we're going to take advantage of Excel's INDIRECT function. The INDIRECT function causes your application to interpret the data in the referenced cell as the name of a range. So now this will successfully go to the range called Houston rather than just seeing a text value there. So now we get a result. So we see that the spinach in Houston is 89 cents. So I can quickly shift to a different market with my drop down and get different results. So now my VLOOKUP is a little bit more dynamic. Now what I might do is add a drop down for the item as well. So we'll go to data, data validation, and on the settings tab we'll choose list, and I'll have bread, comma, milk, comma, spinach, comma, crab legs, comma, cheese. And of course we actually could have had a named range with the items and another named range with the markets, the cities, but we did it manually in this example. I'll choose OK. So now I've got a drop down of the products here in cell A11, and I can choose any product, and then I can choose any market and get the results. Now, one of the things that you might want to do when you have this, if you notice when I click in cell A11, the arrow for the drop down list sort of covers the location cell, and by default Excel aligns text to the left. So I'll click in cell B11, which has the location, and from my home tab I'll either center or right align it. So if I do like a center align, then when I'm clicked here, the arrow doesn't cover the location. So I can pick my product, and then I can easily see what location I'm using. Same thing is kind of happening with the drop arrow from the location cells, kind of covering up the dollar symbol for the price, and actually sort of blocks part of that data. So maybe we would go with, say, the currency style, as that puts the dollar symbol flush against the number. So then you can kind of play with the width of that cell to make sure that you can see the data. So that's it. We now have a VLOOKUP function that is using the indirect function to interpret the data in cell B11 as the name of a range, so it can look up from the appropriate location. So this can be helpful when you want to do a VLOOKUP, but you want to have multiple potential ranges to do the lookup in. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again soon for another Excel demo with Rich Kerr. Peace.